More of Denver's bridges are now off limits to heavyweights, but who's watching to see if truckers follow the rules designed to keep drivers safe?
They may be violating this bridge weight restriction with zero knowledge that it happened.
Rural Coloradans are dying earlier. A new report looks at why. Our first glance at the possible cost of this summer's wildfires. It's enormous, and the tab is just starting to run. And we'll set aside the headlines of the week to make time for the good news in the lives of our neighbors at a rodeo where all are welcome.
No matter what their ability is, they get to be here and have fun and explore and experience the rodeo.
That's tonight on Next. Cross Canadian ragweeds play in Red Rocks tonight. That's not news. The opening act is large hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. That is news. That's a live look from Lookout Mountain in Golden. And that is meteorologist Chris Bianchi here to tell us about a nasty storm that's come through the west side of town.
And it's now moving into downtown Denver, Kyle, as well. So now's the time to be inside. Dark-looking clouds right now over downtown Denver. This is the storm that was earlier severe thunderstorm warned. We did have some quarter-sized hail and even a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust reported with this storm as it moved through Rocky Flats. This one now moving into downtown Denver appears to be kind of re-strengthening over the Sloan's Lake Edgewater area here in West Denver. And again, this is going to move into downtown Denver likely within the next half hour, 45 minutes, with that potential for a little bit of hail. But the main risk with this will be some lightning as well as some could be dealing with some small hail with this as well. This will eventually move into southeast Denver by 7:30. This will be over and done with. So not long to go. If you're out in Red Rocks right now or you're outside right now, head inside, wait it out, next half hour, 45 minutes. You know the deal. You don't need me to tell you that. It's just going to be a little while longer. Then we've got this weekend. High heat. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes.
Thank you. Denver's bridges are not falling down, but it is not exactly confidence-inspiring that there's now a sixth bridge quietly added to the list that are off limits to heavy vehicles like fire trucks and semis. Our Marshall Zellinger was curious who's watching to make sure that heavy vehicles aren't doing damage to the bridges we depend on to be safe. He found an honor system that's not exactly honored.
I can't tell how much a semi weighs just looking at it, so it's hard to tell if that semi is heavier than the 20 to 21 tons that is the maximum allowed for a truck that size on the Quebec Bridge between I-70 and Smith Road. 20 to 21 tons is about 40,000 pounds. An empty semi is close to that.
That's going to be between 32 and 40,000 pounds dry weight.
Craig Hurst oversees freight mobility and safety for CDOT. Even though this is a City of Denver bridge, he helps get the word out about bridge restrictions for the state and helped explain why we might see truckers using a bridge they probably are supposed to avoid.
They may be violating this bridge weight restriction with zero knowledge that it happened, and not because they're not trying to comply, but simply because it's hard to get this message directed at the right people at the right time.
Signs are posted just before the bridge, like the one at Mississippi and Santa Fe, ahead of that bridge over the South Platte. This is one of 6 bridges in the city that need to be replaced and are weight restricted, but are deemed safe for normal traffic.
The biggest challenge is getting that information out in front of that driver ever coming into that situation.
This sign is the newest to pop up, warning truckers and emergency vehicles about a new weight restriction on the Lawrence Bridge over the Cherry Creek between north and southbound Spear. That bridge restriction is just down from a Denver fire station, which has had to detour around the other bridge restrictions since late last year. Although, Denver Fire asked State Patrol to weigh some of their vehicles to know for sure how heavy they are.
Where you're basically going to each axle and you're weighing, and then you're adding up the axle weights, and then quickly you can come to the conclusion of what that truck weighs.
It turns out not all fire engines are too heavy for the bridges, but this rescue truck weighed in at almost 55,000 pounds, more than 27 tons. This weigh-in is similar to what it would look like if State Patrol or DPD had to set up a mobile weigh station to spot check trucks to make sure they're not overweight. The other bridges with restrictions are 6th Avenue over Cherry Creek and 2 other bridges connecting Quebec and Central Park, Smith and Sandown. It seems no one is actively making sure the weight restrictions are being honored, but also, Kyle, the bridges are still standing.
Right? I assume that if it was an imminent threat, they would actually have people out there, like, keeping the trucks off the bridge.
I think if it was an imminent threat, they would shut down the road to traffic altogether. But yeah, I think the signs are supposed to do one step, and I guess if you're reviewing some itinerary before you drive into the area, it might be on there. That's something that Craig Hurst wants to do a pilot program with the City of Denver to try to integrate the state and city system.
You'd have to be a heck of a good trucker to see that sign. Just be like, whoop, there's my one block, you know, and get off ahead of it. That's tough. All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. The large fires burning across Colorado right now are going to cost taxpayers at least $250 million, according to new estimates from state fire managers. The state's drought task force has been briefed on 13 fires in Colorado. There are hundreds of fire crews, dozens of bulldozers, dozens of aircraft out working, and the cost is adding up. The current 90-day projection for the fire response and recovery costs is about $166 million, and that is just for the 4 largest fires burning right now.
The financial impacts on things that cascade from drought impacts and so forth are tremendous. And in light of cutting $2.5 billion out of the state's budget over the past 15 or 18 months, that's a very notable number.
The firefighters are optimistic about the progress being made against those large fires this week, but conditions are not great. Many of those fires, like the Aspen Acres fire down near Pueblo, are in rough terrain, and 90% of the state is bone dry right now from drought. An unaffiliated candidate for Congress is going to be on the ballot in Denver against Democratic nominee Malak Quiros in November. She's the Democratic socialist who unseated 29-year incumbent Rep. Diana DeGette. Quiros is an outspoken critic of Israel, and that has led a Jewish doctor named Shimon Blau to get into the race. Blau officially got on the ballot today after turning in the 1,500 required signatures. He scraped together those signatures in just 2 days, circulating petitions in the Jewish community. He says Quiros is anti-Semitic and that voters should have an alternative in November. Quiros has called the October 7th massacre of Israeli citizens the, quote, inevitable consequence of apartheid. Here on Next, Quiros declined to call the firebombing of Jewish people in Boulder anti-Semitic. She told me that she didn't know what was in the heart of the attacker. Shimon Blau has not released a policy platform. There's also going to be a long-shot Republican candidate on the ballot, Christy Peterson, who has described her platform as anti-chemtrails and anti-Sharia law. Living in rural Colorado shouldn't come with a shorter life expectancy, but a new study suggests it might. The state health department released its health equity report for rural Colorado. Our Jaleesa Arizari breaks down the rural-urban health divide and a gap that could be growing.
The Capitol stairs are a fitting spot to talk about steps the state is taking to address health equity.
And so the more we can have those conversations about public health with the public, the stronger the health status of Colorado will be.
Arlen Zamola is with the state health department. Her team just published this report highlighting the health inequities throughout Colorado. They broke it down by 3 types of communities: rural resort like ski towns, and urban areas.
We do see that people are living shorter lives in rural communities compared to rural resort and urban communities.
The report found rural Coloradans are seeing worse health outcomes than their urban neighbors on 15 of the 20 measures studied. Throw being a person of color in a rural community into the mix, and it gets worse. Indigenous people face some of the highest rates of premature death, nearly double the statewide average. Rural and resort Latinos are also the largest group of uninsured residents. The report points to lack of access to health care, transportation, and housing costs.
We are based in the Western Slope.
Alex Sanchez is the president of Voces Unidas, a Latino advocacy group. Sanchez noted that the report found rural resort communities usually had better health outcomes than those in cities. But he says that's not always true.
That probably has a lot to do with the type of people and populations that concentrate in those resort communities. Aspen, Vail, Telluride, Breckenridge, but their patients are not everyday people. Their patients are not the working, construction worker who barely can make ends meet, especially if you're a worker who are also considered seasonal in these very rural resorts. It means that your employer is not required to provide health insurance.
And I think it's also really concerning knowing what is coming to our healthcare system in the coming months.
Adam Fox is with the Colorado Consumer Health Initiative. He worries about the impact Medicare and Medicaid changes, like new work requirements and more frequent eligibility checks, will have on these disparities. According to the Colorado Hospital Association, about 35% of people in rural communities rely on Medicare or Medicaid.
As we start making it harder for people to maintain coverage, we're going to see these disparities continue, if not worsen.
Now, CDPHE hopes lawmakers and community leaders will take a look at this data and try to find solutions to these disparities. Some of the suggestions include adding more school-based health centers and allowing nurse practitioners to provide more services they're already trained to do. Kyle?
And when we talk about how people keep up with the cost of being healthy, health insurance premiums continue to increase.
Yeah, you know, the Division of Insurance actually just announced this week an 11% increase on the ACA marketplace for 2027. Obviously, that's a far cry from the 101% increase we saw last year, but still, an increase is an increase.
All right, Julie Sarazari, thank you very much. Every child's first teacher will be a parent. Some parents are ready and equipped for the role. Others could use guidance on making their kids' preschool years a time of learning and growth and happiness. That's where the nonprofit Parent Possible comes in. They're the recipient of this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. Parent Possible has done this work for decades in Colorado. They're deeply respected. Their home visitors work with parents to make each home a place where kids learn and grow and feel safe and supported. They teach parents how to teach kids the foundational skills that they'll need to go to school prepared to learn. Like many nonprofits, Parent Possible has dealt with federal funding cuts. Together, we can help them provide more families with the support they need to help kids succeed. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to donate. Even $5 helps. That's how you've raised $19 million. You know the deal. I'm never going to ask you to give if I don't, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. More than 8,000 of you are signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info one time, pick a donation amount, and each month your generosity is split among all the nonprofits we feature, and that'll add about $40,000 a week to all 5 campaigns this month. Boulder wants more federal money to keep running their municipal airport. Catch is, they might have to agree to keep it open indefinitely.
My good news is that I'm happy to be here with everyone, and I hope I have a fun day.
Whoever said that something had to be horrible or tragic to be on the news? It is Friday, so we will set aside time to talk about what is good in the lives of our neighbors. Next. Colorado Parks and Wildlife says a bear attacked somebody in Boulder County today. They've been out warning about increased bear activity due to the drought. CPW says this happened at Beaver Reservoir, a few miles north of Ward. We still don't know who was attacked, how badly they were injured. Sheriff's Office said they had to be flown to the hospital. CPW says they've gotten nearly 2,000 reports of bear activity this year, higher than usual. Actual bear attacks on humans are rare. Mostly they just want our trash, right? And most human-bear conflicts occur when bears are trying to get at food. Warm and dry winter means less resources for the bears to forage, so they're headed deeper into populated areas. Chris Bianchi's back. We were just talking about that cross-Canadian ragweed show out at Red Rocks, and Chris was asking me who's at that show. So think like red dirt music, like Oklahoma country, think like Waylon and Willie and that kind of thing. So these are not soft folks who are out there.
All right, they're going to need to be hardy because it's pouring out there in Red Rocks. If not already, it's about to pour there in Red Rocks. We've already picked up, in some cases, over an inch of rain all within the last hour, really last 45 minutes. So watch out for some localized flash flooding. Just a little word of caution. If you don't have to drive around right now, West Metro, don't. We've picked up a lot of rain here within the last couple of minutes. Let's show you the storm. Zip on in here on the Denver metro area because it's the west side of town, getting a pretty good storm. That is now moving into downtown Denver as we speak. And this is the storm that put down, in some cases here, about 3/4 to an inch of rain within the last, again, 45 minutes to hour or so. That is now moving into downtown Denver. You notice that blue spot? That is indicating a radar estimate of about an inch of rain within the last hour. So again, that would be the area right along Highway 93, Rocky Flats, down to Golden, down to North Table Mountain. That's where you're seeing that storm. And then Red Rocks for all those folks, those hardy folks, as Kyle's describing, heading out there to Red Rocks. It is going to storm on you momentarily. So now's the time to get inside the vehicle. Next hour or so, here's the good news, right? You're going to Red Rocks, keep that plan. It's not going to get rained out if you've got outdoor activities this evening. Keep them. Just wait it out the next hour or two, and that's going to be a beautiful night. And hopefully we all get a little bit of that beneficial moisture that we've all been asking for the last little while. Heat advisory, that includes the entire I-25 urban corridor from Denver north to Fort Collins. This is for both tomorrow and for Sunday. Temperatures near 100 degrees. And both days we have a weather impact alert. And by the way, our records for both days, 99 tomorrow, 100 on Sunday. That is what we're forecasting. But then early to mid next week. The monsoon afternoon showers and storms return. Could see a storm tomorrow afternoon. I think Sunday stays dry, but then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, some more of those substantial storms return with the possibility for some more activity here in the metro area, although temperatures will cool down from 100 to the low to mid 90s. Yay.
A Boulder City councilman abruptly resigned after fellow council members voted last night to pursue federal funding for the Boulder Airport. Taking those grants could require the airport to remain open indefinitely. Airport's in, he's out. Boulder's been stuck in a legal battle with the FAA over certain grant funding that would require Boulder to keep the airport open until the feds decide to close it. Critics have been wary of accepting any more FAA funding. They want the flexibility to close the airport and redevelop the site if they choose. But supporters say the airport's an economic driver, and turning down the federal funding could create further strain on the city budget. So after a marathon meeting on this, City Councilman Mark Wallach was the lone no vote on pursuing federal funds. Everybody else voted yes. He voted no and quit on the spot. His seat will stay vacant through November. Anybody can rope and ride at the Exceptional Rodeo. We saddled up and headed to Arapahoe County in search of your good news.
Now that's what I call the real hoedown.
Couldn't say it better myself. We're back with our favorite Friday question next. Exceptional smiles on some exceptional people at the Arapahoe County Fair answered our favorite question of the week. What's your good news?
Welcome to the Arapahoe County Fair Exceptional Rodeo.
My good news is that I'm happy to be here with everyone, and I hope I have a fun day.
No matter what their ability is, they get to be here and have fun and explore and experience the rodeo. My good news is that I have faces that I see here that have been coming for the last 3 years. And some of the faces were a little shy their first year or would not participate, and now they're running to come enjoy this activities. And that's my good news, is that we've created a space where people feel welcomed and comfortable.
The good news, I like helping in the community.
I'm happy about the rodeo is finally here. Now that's what I call the real hoedown.
Just being around the people, and I think that's my good news of the day. My other good news is that I am going to get to sing the national anthem for the Douglas County Fair and Rodeo next Wednesday.
Make sure you're stopping and grabbing your trophy at the end of the day.
Okay, cut. That was the best recorded day we have ever had.
It's great stuff. We're back with your feedback next. Feedback from Consuelo on X, who says Marilyn should get her own segment. I think that's her name. Consuelo, you're right. It's Marilyn Moore. She's our digital and social producer, produces the entire program from time to time. She should have her own segment. She's sassier than I am. She'd lay into people in a way that I wouldn't. This via text. I like Kyle's reverse farmer's tan. He's like a topless beekeeper. I had to wrestle with that for a little while. Here's the deal, texter. It's gotten to that point in the summer where I'm with the kids at the pool and I'm just a mishmash of terrible tan lines. I've got like a watch tan line, the sandal tan line. I'm an embarrassment to my family.